prepared for something new. Everyone is different. So are you. Stay straight. No masquerades. Do things that you'll remember. You can push too far, but stay fair. Stay on track. Give it your all. Get to the bottom of things. Decide what's right. Don't believe in what the others do. Find it out for yourself. Be close to it all. Bring your heart along. Follow your goals. Reach for the stars. Turn the weekend into the loudest party of your life. Are you prepared?
Hello everyone, welcome from the Hungaroring. We are here just 20 minutes away from Budapest in a beautiful circuit embedded into the hills. It's sunny but windy and we're looking forward to a very, very exciting weekend, and so can you, because racing at its best. Enjoy the highlights.
Budapest is a place I like.
The fans are pretty passionate about motorsport here.
You can see they really enjoy that we come.
A foretaste of the powerful DTM cars by Audi, BMW and Mercedes-AMG. In Budapest city centre on Thursday, the DTM stars were up close and personal with the fans, signing countless autographs, posing for photos, and most importantly, pressing the pedal to the metal in the capital. The Hungaroring is not a long-standing DTM venue. The series is visiting Hungary for the 4th time. Lucas Auer is the DTM's man of the moment. The Austrian tops the overall standings on 69 points. His closest pursuer has clocked up 53 points so far. That's Audi driver Jamie Green. And Matthias Ekström is well placed too. The Swede won last year's race in Hungary. And René Rast has clicked into gear after his first DTM podium finish at the Lausitzring. Rast dominates proceedings in qualifying for race 1, clinching his maiden DTM pole position, and former Mercedes Motorsport boss Norbert Haug was among the well-wishers, joined of course by Arno Zenz, René Rast's team principal at Audi Sport Team Rosberg. Two-time DTM champions Matthias Ekström and Marco Wittmann had a conversation pre-race, and BMW's Timo Glock knows the track, of course, from his spell as a Formula One driver. And let's get the grid then for race 1 at the Hungaroring. René Rast's first pole position, P1 for him. Jamie Green is P2 alongside. Then it's Matthias Ekström and Nico Müller going on the second row of the grid. What domination from Audi, which continues with Mike Rockenfeller on P5 and Augusto Farfus, the best of the BMWs, to go from P6. Then we find Luc Duval and Lucas Auer. Lucas Auer, the championship leader going into this race. Gary Paffett and Tom Blomqvist are on the 5th row of the grid, two Brits together. Then we find Robert Wickens and Maxime Martin, P11 and P12 for Mercedes and BMW. Paul di Resta and Timo Glock on the 7th row of the grid. The current DTM champion Marco Wittmann is P15 with Eduardo Mortara P16. And then bringing up the rear of the pack, we find Bruno Spengler and Maro Engel. That's the grid for race 1 of this 4.381 kilometre circuit. Well known, of course, in the world of motorsport, Formula 1 has raced at this track on a regular basis since 1986 in the Hungarian Grand Prix. It's windy before the start of race 1, but fans big and small flock to this event. Let's hear from our pole sitter on the grid now.
Fantastic job you did today in qualifying. You snatched your first pole, so I guess it would be quite nice to also do your first win here in Budapest. What's your gut feeling?
Yeah, obviously it's a target, but it's not gonna be an easy race. I mean, the conditions has changed a little bit with stronger winds now, so we might need to adjust the tire pressures a little bit to that. But in general, I think we have a comfortable position with some Audis behind us, so there will not be a lot of fighting, hopefully. But in general, yeah, I hope we have a clean and a good race.
Very good qualifying from the British star Jamie Green, who will be going from P2 on the grid for Audi Sport Team Rosberg. And Jamie Green's fellow Audi driver Matthias Ekstrom will be starting from P3, and he'll be buoyed by his fond memories of this circuit.
Matthias Ekstrom, you actually won here last year, and today you're starting in P3, so it's looking pretty good. What's your feeling for the race?
Yeah, I think we were good here last year, and I think it proves today again that we have found something extra here compared to the opposition. But in qualifying, I managed P3. I have to say René did a good job, and Jamie as well. So we need to find a little bit more pace to be really on pole. But anyway, looking forward to the race. But I think I never raced with so much wind, so it would be very exciting.
A good all-round qualifying performance from Audi, which sees Nico Müller going from P4 on the grid. His best result in the races thus far came at the opening weekend, where he took P5 in race 2 at Hockenheim. Mike Rockenfeller is next on the grid. He goes from P5 for Audi Sport Team Phoenix, and the boss of Audi Motorsport is Dieter Gass.
So last year Audi won here, both races, and again today Audi's showing that they're extremely strong. You've got the 5 positions with Audi. I guess it would be nice to have the same result in the race today.
Oh yes, we would be extremely pleased with that for sure. But we'll see. We always know the start is a very critical moment of the race. The others will try to give everything to get positions at the start, so we need to be very careful. I just hope that we have a clean race, and then normally the result should be okay for us.
Best of the BMWs, Augusto Farfus. He goes from P6 on the grid for BMW Team RMG, and he'll be hoping for a good result. His best thus far, a P12 in the first race at Lausitz. Let's hear from BMW's motorsport boss now. Here's Jens Marquardt.
Now we've got 5 Audis, and then behind the 5 Audis we've got our lonesome Augusto Farfus, because he hasn't got much backup, because only in P10 is Tom Blomqvist. So I guess it's going to be a pretty tough race.
Yeah, definitely a tough race, you have to say. 5 cars of one brand in front. This is far from ideal, but that's the situation, and we just have to fight. We have to try and do the best from a strategy point of view, pace and everything, and see. Yeah, still an hour of race, and we have to do our best.
So we've heard from the boss of Audi, we've heard from the boss of BMW, and as we look at Lucas Auer, who of course has taken 2 wins in DTM for season 2017. What can he do from P8 on the grid, and what can Mercedes-Benz do? Their head of DTM is Uli Fritz.
Best Mercedes-Benz in P9 and P11, so I guess, are you hoping that you have a really good strategy, or what are you going to do, and what are you struggling with?
I think that's the only thing we can hope for, to be honest. I mean, we are really far down the grid, and yeah, it's just damage limitation now for the race. We need to have a look where we can end up, but in the end, the strategy has to be to collect a few points and maybe try to get the BMWs behind us, because I think Audi is driving in another league today. We have to take that one and yeah, come back stronger tomorrow.
Tension in the garages then, ahead of the start of race 1. Audi first of all, then the garages of BMW Motorsport, and then finally the garages of Mercedes-Benz ahead of the start of race 1. We throw the lights to the top of the screen. Not such a brilliant start from René Rast. Jamie Green should be right alongside him as they go into turn number 1. Jamie Green going to have the inside line. Matthias Ekstrom looking very quick. So too Mike Rockenfeller and Nico Müller. And Lucas Auer trying to go around the outside of Augusto Farfus as they go into turn number 1. Lucas Auer running out wide. So too Loic Duval. Just see the dust being kicked up by the Lucas Auer Mercedes-Benz. Jamie Green and Matthias Ekström having a real ding-dong battle for P2, and more of a ding-dong battle for Maxime Martin and Tom Blomqvist, which means that Tom Blomqvist ends up off the track. He returns now. We're on board with him. Tom now going to have to go like heck to try and catch up with the back, and he'll be right at the back of the grid. So a replay of the start then, and it was the second phase of the start almost that René Rast struggled with, and Matthias Ekström very nearly getting between both Jamie Green and René Rast. In the end, he had to take to the wide outside, but then remained absolutely committed through the first sequence of turns, which means that Matthias Ekström battling for that P2 position behind René Rast. On board with Jamie Green then, and it's this second phase where Jamie Green just seems to have more momentum than René Rast as they head up to turn number 1, but whilst he has the inside for turn number 1, it quickly becomes the outside for turn number 2, and that's where Jamie Green got passed by Matthias Ekström, who has moved up into P2. Some fantastic onboard shots that we're able to bring you as these cars battle now. That's Tom Blomqvist on the right-hand side, and this was Tom Blomqvist and Maxime Martin getting together, and Tom ending up out. And that's where Maxime Martin just clunked into the side of Tom Blomqvist. That was enough for him to go out. There'll be some discussions in BMW about that, that's for sure. René Rast leads from Matthias Ekström, and Jamie Green is P3, and it's Mike Rockefeller P4, before we get to another manufacturer, which is Augusto Farfus in BMW, going from P5, staying on board with Jamie Green around this twisty Hungaroring circuit. Fantastic shot of Jamie Green, hard at work. René Rast leading the race. There you can see Augusto Farfus, and a great move from Lucas Auer right alongside Nico Müller as he tries to make P7, P6. It's been denied by Nico Müller at the moment, but Lucas Auer pushing hard. Of course, what he wants to do is bank as many points as he possibly can in his quest for the championship charge. Behind him is Lloyd Duval, who's running P8, Gary Pavitt is P9, and Robert Wickens is P10. Paul di Resta started from P13 and Timo Glock from P14. They opt for very early pit stops, and this will turn out to be exactly the right decision. So we watch the pit stops at work. New for 2017, of course, only 2 engineers involved with the tyre changes. And we throw up onto the screen.
Main problem is understeer, okay? Understeer.
We throw up onto the screen where Bruno Spengler is relative to Timo Glock. There is Bruno Spengler, as we heard from Lucas Auer, that he's got problems with understeer as both Paul di Resta and Timo Glock return ahead of Bruno Spengler just for the moment. Bruno Spengler with more momentum, and of course Timo Glock on cold tyres because tyre warmers are banned. And well, the collision from turn 1 turns out to be more serious than it initially appeared as Maxime Martin's BMW retires, and where that has retired, that will require a safety car.
Copy, Max.
So Maxime Martin having to use sign language, can't move anywhere as he's trying to communicate with the marshals. Now this of course will have a real advantage for both Timo Glock and Paul di Resta, who came into the pits just ahead of the safety car, and that was the collision between Maxime Martin and Tom Blomqvist. It's bad news for BMW in this race at the Hungaroring. Let's hear from the BMW Motorsport boss now, Jens Marquardt.
We had an incident between 2 of our cars then as well at the beginning with Tom and Maxime is definitely something we don't want to see, and that this resulted in Maxime to basically then, a few laps later, having to stop because his cars, the brakes were just locked, and this caused a safety car.
And safety cars mean a side-by-side restart for DTM in 2017, which is fantastic for us race fans as they head towards turn number 1 now. Rast, Ekström, then it's Green and Rockefeller, and who will get it going into turn number 1? Matthias Ekström on the outside, René Rast on the in, although Jamie Green just takes a look at the inside, but Matthias Ekström with a superior getaway from the restart manages to go through and take up the lead. So it's Ekström leading from Rast, and then it's Green and Rockefeller. They're all bunched up really tight behind, and Augusto Farfus, Nico Müller get together, and that looked like Nico Müller on Lucas Auer. That's pushed Lucas Auer out. Augusto Farfus has gone around as well. Nico Müller is able to rejoin. Here is Jamie Green then as he tried to just look at the inside at the restart. Wasn't able to get alongside René Rast, but Matthias Ekström doing all the hard work around the outside to take up that P1 position. Now let's see again. Looks like it's Nico Müller out onto the grass. He then touches Lucas Au. Now, did Augusto Farfus go around completely on his own? I'm not sure that he was aided in that spin at all. Let's see it from Robert Wickens' perspective. Big lock-up from Loic Duval. Again, I'm not absolutely sure that Augusto Farfus got touched in that. See it from Gary Patrick's on-board angle. Doesn't reveal much either, other than the lock-up from Loic Duval. I wonder if Loic was not able to scrub enough speed off. Daniel Junqueira looks on, knowing that Lucas Au now is not going to get any points because he's right at the back of the pack. The race is being led by Matthias Ekström. It's René Rast who's P2, then it's Green, Rockefeller. Then it's Robert Wickens who is P5. Robert Wickens was able to take advantage of the skirmish that was going on earlier on, but it wouldn't last for long. As you can see here, Robert Wickens, his car is slowing, only just avoided by Bruno Spengler, and Robert Wickens sadly will have to retire. So the end of the race for Robert Wickens, and you can see the frustration in his left hand there. Unfortunately, as we can see in replay there, his race is done and dusted. So no points for the number 6 Mercedes-Benz driver, Robert Wickens. He will retire that car from the race. So then the drivers at the head of the field turn into the pits. It's lap 17. Matthias Ekström, Mike Rockefeller, who's currently 4th, and Tom Blomqvist as well. So teams go to work on the car of Matthias Ekström and also that of Mike Rockefeller. And Matthias Ekström out ahead of Mike Rockefeller. Mike Rockefeller gets out just ahead of the incoming Tom Blomqvist car, who of course was involved in that very early turnaround. He was pushed into that by Maxime Martin. On board with René Rast then, who's back into the lead of the race, but of course he has got his pit stop to come, and also that for the driver that's currently running in P2, that's Jamie Green. So René Rast now, if he's got the life and the tyres, will push as hard as he can for as long as he can. Choosing not to come in on this occasion. And here is Jamie Green, hard at work in the cockpit of his Hoffman Group Audi RS5 DTM. See the René Rast car ahead of him. And you will recall much earlier on that Paul de Resta and Timo Glock, as well as Bruno Spengler, made early pit stops, and that has paid off because they're the closest pursuers of the two Audis now. And bear in mind that both René Rast and Jamie Green have yet to head into the pits. So Timo Glock being chased down by Bruno Spengler. Those early pit stops look set to pay off as Jamie Green heads into the pits for a tyre change. So where will the British star rejoin this race? So, Jamie Green then on new tyres, but cold tyres, because tyre warmers are not allowed anymore, which means those that are out on the track have already got tyres that are up to temperature, and Jamie Green will be at a slight disadvantage. So, Eduardo Mortara is the all-pink Mercedes-Benz, which is behind Jamie Green, but will be able to really close the gap because of the superior temperature. But Edo Mortara has in those tyres. He'll be able to take more risk around the turns, and Jamie Green will be almost defenceless. So this is a really good battle, P9 and P10, between Eduardo Mortara and Jamie Green.
I think you pushed me out, Jimmy. Like that.
So Edo Mortara then feels that Jamie Green may have just pushed him a little bit. Jamie Green using all his experience to defend to the best of his ability and keep that all-pink Mercedes-Benz behind him. But on the approach to turn 6, the chicane, Eduardo Mortara with a very bold and quite physical move against Jamie Green, which caused Jamie Green to shortcut the chicane. Didn't pay off for Eduardo Mortara though, because he ends up losing out to the current DTM champion Marco Wittmann and potentially Loic Duval as well. Here it is in super slow-mo. There, the contact between the two of them, and maybe Edo thinks that's payback for the alleged contact between himself and Jamie Green earlier in the lap. But Edo Mortara, the big loser in that, because he ends up not getting past Jamie Green, and this is how hard he had to defend. Bosch steering very nearly thrown out of his hands. So Edo not only didn't get past Jamie Green, but was overtaken by Marco Wittmann. So a bold effort that really didn't pay off for Eduardo Mortara. Race leader into the pits then. René Rast heads into the pits. He's fast, but will it be enough? Once again, on screen, you can see where Matthias Ekström is to the very right of your picture, that map. And Rennie Rast on cold tyres. I know I labour this point, but after the pit stop, the tyres have not been pre-warmed, so those drivers that are out there on already up to temperature tyres have a distinct advantage as Mike Rockefeller goes through on Matthias Ekström, both of them with a significant advantage over the returning Rennie Rast. So our race leader is Paul di Resta, Timo Glock is P2 and Bruno Spengler is P3. Maro Engel is yet to turn into the pit lane as this battle between Rocky and Ekström continues. So here is our race leader then, Paul di Resta. Timo Glock is P2, Bruno Spengler P3, one Mercedes and two BMWs, springing a real surprise then when you consider the dominance of Audi in qualifying. So they round the turn 14 and head across the start-finish line. 1.4 seconds the margin he has over P2, Timo Glock, as we see a retirement for Tom Blomqvist. You'll recall in the early stages of the race he was involved in that collision with Maxime Martin.
The start wasn't great, but I think I maybe lost one position in turn 1. And then I had only one option but try the outside at turn 2, but I don't know, I got a big hit from the rear left corner and then it spun me around and it damaged the car quite badly, so it was just pointless to keep driving. I mean, I had no pace after that, so yeah, pretty disappointing. I mean, it's been the story of my season so far, so it's not a huge surprise, but you know, we need to turn things around sooner rather than later.
Remarkably, given the pace in qualifying, the best position for Audi at the moment is with this man, Mike Rockefeller, who is P5. As you can see, the gap between Paul di Resta and Mike Rockefeller, and team principal Ernst Moser looks on with some disappointment, I would hazard a guess. The race leader is Paul di Resta, P2 Timo Glock, and P3 just into the picture there, the all-black BMW of Bruno Spengler. Before we see Maro Engel, he hasn't made his mandatory pit stop yet. So Maro Engel is currently running P4, but he's yet to come into the pit, so I should think it will be quite an easy overtake for Mike Rockefeller. Although Maro Engel dives into the pits now, which means the overtake doesn't even need to come from Mike Rockefeller. It will be done naturally, as Maro Engel is the last of the drivers to turn in for his mandatory pit stop. So that means that Mike Rockefeller is up to P4 now, chasing down that BMW bank car of Bruno Spengler in the closing stages of this race. But rather suspect that Bruno will be able to defend that P3 position as the Audi engineers look on then. Their best hopes lying with the Mike Rockefeller car, which is chasing down the Bruno Spengler BMW right now. So Bruno will make that BMW as wide as possible in terms of defending his P3 position from that of Mike Rockefeller. It all plays into the hands of Timo Glock, who's able to escape up the road undaunted by Bruno Spengler, and of course Paul di Resta with a comfortable margin in the lead at the moment. So Rockefeller is putting the pressure on the BMW bank car of Bruno Spengler. As we start the last lap, this is the battle for P3 that we're watching. Spengler dives to the outside. Mike Rockefeller now, as the front end of his car bounces around, goes to the outside. Bruno Spengler, though, with the inside line at turn number 1. As they head down towards the left-hander now, which is turn number 2. Bruno Spengler turns in. Rockefeller following every single wheel track as they run downhill now through turn 3 and head up towards turn number 4. In replay then, you can see the front end of the Mike Rockefeller Audi really bouncing down that start-finish straight as he was trying to go around the outside and wrestle away that P3 position. So despite his best efforts, Mike Rockefeller would end up having to settle for P4.
When the safety car came out, we didn't do our pit stop yet, so it was clear the ones which pitted early that they have a 20-second advantage over us, and we had to close this gap or just by pushing really hard. And I tried my best, and I almost made it at the end, but yeah, I didn't manage to pass Bruno in the last lap.
Well, Mike kept the fight tight right until the very last turns. Continued to push Bruno Spengler's BMW, but in the end he was always going to be denied, unfortunately, and it was going to be P4. Just turn 14 to do, and that means that Paul di Resta will take the win, perhaps surprisingly, from Timo Glock, both of whom made the decision to do an early pit stop. Bruno Spengler P3, Mike Rockefeller then completing the top 4. But our race winner there for Mercedes-Benz, Paul Di Resta, who's not had a lot of sleep. Congratulations, Paul, on the birth of your baby daughter. Here is Lee Fritz.
Qualifying didn't go as expected, and yeah, I mean, of course we were a bit lucky with the safety car, but in the end you have to bring it home. I mean, Paul did a really early stop and he managed his tires really good, and yeah, just happy at the moment.
Now, Jamie Green, who finished P7, has been disqualified after the race. A protest by Mercedes-Benz revealed that Jamie Green's Audi was illegally modified. Audi have appealed against the decision. So let's hear from Jamie Green.
Yeah, I heard that Mercedes appealed something on my car. Obviously, I'm the driver. I don't prepare the car. So yeah, I just focus on my job. And if we do lose those points, it will be a shame for me. But ultimately, all I can do is focus on my job and drive the car to the best of my ability, and that's what I'll do.
A truly splendid trophy being presented to our race winner, Paul Di Resta, then, who will hold it aloft and celebrate his race win. Let's hear from him now.
Paul, you've got to be absolutely raving. Congratulations to a fantastic race. And I guess it's a perfect birth present for your daughter who was born on Monday. So you've got to be absolutely happy.
Yeah, every time I have a kid, I win the next race. I'm not sure I'll be having many kids soon, so maybe have to wait. But it's been a perfect week. We had a very good car in quali today, but my friend on the podium, Timo, blocked me in qualifying and should have been about P6. But it was always a plan to do what we did, and when you're light on the tyres like I am, you can do strategies like that, and it paid off, and the luck kind of repaid itself from unlucky Hockenheim.
There were no points for Lucas Auer, but he stays at the top of the Drivers' Championship chart. In race 1 then, P2 was Timo Glock, but P3 was Bruno Spengler.
My guys really deserve a good podium. It has been a tough start of the season, but the whole team did a great job in the pit stop. The strategy to take the risk to come a second time in the box to do a pit stop, to have fresh rubber for the end, was just well done. We have been also lucky in the race, we have to say, but great job for everyone, and I'm happy for BMW and for RBM that we have position 2 and 3. It's great.
Just happy, and we didn't believe that we can score 18 points today, so we take it, and but for sure we need to sit down and get on top of the speed problem we have at the moment. For sure the Audis are slightly ahead, and even the Mercedes looks slightly stronger if you take the weight out. So, but at least you know, we risked. We took some risk, and it paid off. So at the end, I'm happy. I think I now need a Hungarian passport, because every time when I come to this place, it works out for me. So really happy to be on the podium here.
The podium concludes for race 1 as we take a look at the grid for race 2, and what a qualifying superstar Rene Rast has become, because he puts it back on P1. Marco Wittmann is alongside him for P2. Then we find Matthias Ekstrom P3 and Nico Muller rounding out the second row of the grid. Mike Rockefeller and Jamie Green are side by side for P5 and P6. And then it's Lucas Auer, the championship leader, going from P7 with Timo Glock, who we've just heard from. He qualifies P8. Augusto Farfus P9, Tom Blomqvist hoping for better luck today. He'll be going from P10 on the grid. And then it's Gary Pafford and Paul Di Resta, the two Brits together on the 6th row of the grid for race 2 here at the Hungaroring, which finds Robert Wickinson, Eduardo Mortara P13 and P14. Loic Duval and Maro Engel go on the 8th row of the grid. And then to the very back we find Bruno Spengler and Maxime Martin. Maxime picking up a penalty for the collision with Tom Blomqvist in race 1. Just shy of 40,000 spectators are at the Hungaroring for this weekend, and race 2 very well attended, as you can see. Now, as I mentioned, Maxime Martin will be starting from the back of the grid. Picked up that penalty following his collision with Tom Blomqvist in race 1. And Paul Di Resta is one of those beneficiaries, if you like, from Maxime Martin's penalty. He's going from P12.
It's one less car, isn't it? Looks like Rocky also has a problem, so there's another less car to go round. But Audi are very dominant. BMW look very strong today as well compared to us. So it's going to be an interesting race. I think it's a lot warmer today, a lot more difficult, but you can never write it off in DTM. And you know, one very small mistake, as I didn't qualify again, is very costly in grid position. So it's never over until it's over, and we'll fight and see what the tyres and how they last with this new softer rubber.
Going from P7 on the grid is the Austrian Lucas Auer, who is the championship leader at the moment. He'll be hoping to at least bank some points from this race, unlike yesterday. And going from P6, it's Jamie Green.
The races are obviously unpredictable, as we saw yesterday, so I think it's hard to really be sure what you can do, what you can achieve. But you know, 6th isn't that far. I've won races from 6th on the grid before, so yeah, we'll keep pushing until we see the checkered flag.
Mike Rockenfeller very unlucky. His Audi has to head into the pits with a damaged brake hose shortly before the start. Therefore, he will be starting from the pit lane. Let's hear from Dieter Gas.
Yeah, just when we wanted to leave to go to the grid, we found a small leak or brake fluid at the end of the day between the pedals. And when we checked, we found a leak in a brake hose, which we had to replace, and unfortunately we couldn't do that in the time which was available to go to the grid, including bleeding the brakes and everything. So I have been informed that he will start at the end of the formation lap, so he will be able to go to the grid, but in the last position.
We saw some fantastic driving from Matthias Ekstrom in the race yesterday. Ended up P5, of course. Today he'll be going from P3 on the grid. What can he do from there in his Audi Sport Team ABT Sportsline car? Hazard a guess, he'll fancy his chances going into the right-hander, which is turn number 1. And going from P2 on the grid, it is the current DTM champion, Marco Wittmann for BMW Team RMG. Marco Wittmann ending up P9 in the race yesterday. Will be hoping for more from this race as the klaxon sounds now to get everyone off the grid, and we'll talk to Jens Marquardt.
We've got Marco in the first and some guys in the last row, so yes, we've covered the whole field. Got some guys in the middle as well. I think Marco got a really good lap together, and he found his setup probably a bit better, and timing-wise in the second qualifying run, some of our guys could not improve. That was for sure not ideal. But I think overall we've learned quite a few things yesterday also in the race, and we have to see how race pace is. I'm sure that Timo, Augusto and Tom will do something, and we'll see.
He's proved to be something of a qualifying superstar here at the Hungaroring. René Rast, once again for Audi Sport Team Rosberg, goes from P1 on the grid. It was a P6 finish for him yesterday in race 1. What can he deliver from pole today? Dieter Gas then shaking hands with the team in the Audi garages in the pit lane. Quiet contemplation in the garages of Mercedes-Benz. And also the garages of BMW Motorsport as well. Ahead of the start of race number 2, lights at the top of the screen go out, and race 2 is on. A better start from René Rast on this occasion. Nico Müller starting from P4 with a very good start, and he has already passed Matthias Ekstrom and Marco Wittmann ahead of turn number 1. So the cars go through turn 1. Then the little kink, which is turn 1A, before reaching this point, which is turn number 2. Downhill all the way now as they go through turn 2 and head towards turn number 3, and then the straight before turn number 4. Rast, Müller, Wittmann, Ekstrom, Jamie Green rounding out the top 5 as we pick the cars up now. Nico Müller chasing down René Rast, but Nico Müller having to defend from Marco Wittmann also. Thankfully no one out through the first sequence of turns, as all the cars make their way through. Right at the front it's Rast, right at the very back it's Eduardo Mortara. And the reason Eduardo Mortara is right at the very back is, as these replays will indicate, he didn't get away from the start. Bottom right hand corner of your screen, you can see he initially gets away and then bogs down, and good avoidance by Maxime Martin with the BMW, who dived towards the pit wall to avoid. It was a good start from Nico Müller, who found himself in P2 then before they even went round at turn number 1. But René Rast with a perfect start. He leads the race. We're on board with Maxime Martin, and that was the quick reaction from Maxime Martin in the BMW to avoid the stricken Eduardo Mortara car. And Martin and Rockenfeller would be the earliest pit stoppers, if you like, seeing if that strategy would work for them in race number 2. So Mike Rockenfeller and Maxime Martin into the pit lane on lap 2.
We push for a quick pit stop.
You'll recall, of course, that Mike Rockenfeller started from the pit lane, so he's back down the pit lane once again on lap 2. So Maxime Martin then stops in his box. Mike Rockefeller has already stopped, and just 2 engineers per side of car now to do this tyre change. The clock is running on both of them. It was a slow stop for Mike Rockefeller, 10.4 seconds, just 7.2.
We push, Rocky.
For Maxime Martin. So Rocky being told to push, push, push. Now they've done their mandatory pit stops already, very early stages of the race. Marco Wittmann in P3 is put under pressure by Jamie Green. As they head into turn number 1 now, is Jamie Green going to go for an overtake here? Yes, he is. Dives to the inside. Big lock up from Jamie Green. Will carry too much speed, and that allows Marco Wittmann to retain that position then from Jamie Green. And Lucas Howe is trying to buy into this battle as well. Jamie Green all over the back of the Marco Wittmann BMW now, on board with Jamie Green. Fascinating to watch. And Lucas Howe then also trying to take advantage of the fight that's going on ahead of them. In comes Timo Glock and Paul de Resta. This is lap 8. De Resta's team need to be quick here. Here is Timo Glock. Once again, we put the clocks on the pit stops. Paul de Resta in 7.6 seconds is on his way. That's a very quick stop from the HWA team for Paul de Resta, who will get past Timo Glock in the pit lane. On board with Maxime Martin as he makes his way down the start-finish straight. He will pass these two easily because his tyres are up to temperature. Robert Wickens is the Mercedes driver that will be behind Timo Glock now. But of course, Timo Glock on cold tyres. Robert Wickens will know this is a very good opportunity for him to get past the all-yellow BMW ahead of him. All the rest are there, and that is Timo Glock as they run downhill through turn 2 to turn 3, which is here, and then this straight before turn number 4. Robert Wickens really putting some pressure on Timo Glock now in the BMW, but Timo Glock on cold tyres driving really well. Wickens just takes a look at the inside, but he's not able to get past Timo Glock. Also in now comes Jamie Green, Gary Paffett and Tom Blomqvist. So there is Jamie Green. And there, the number 31 car of fellow British driver, Tom Blomqvist. Oh, and they're slow with Jamie Green. 9.4 seconds, but they're slower with Gary Paffett, 10.3 seconds. So 3 Brits together in the pit lane. As once again, we go on board with Maxime Martin as Jamie Green returns out on track. So too Gary Paffett and Tom Blomqvist. So it's Paul de Resta, and he will go to the inside of Jamie Green as Jamie Green battles with those cold tyres and needs to bring them up to temperature. Paul de Resta goes past without a problem. So Jamie Green ahead of the Timo Glock car now. And Robert Wickens in that mix as well. Those that haven't pitted yet, as we see Marco Wittmann returning back out onto track, an 8.2 second stop for Marco Wittmann. Those that have not stopped yet, Rast, Muller, Farfus and Maro Engel. Maro Engel was the very last to take his mandatory pit stop in the race 1 yesterday. So Maxime Martin, there's Marco Wittmann. And in now, Nico Muller in the number 51 Audi, who had such a brilliant start. The AB team working hard on the Nico Muller car, which now returns down the pit lane, and his battle will be with Maxime Martin. So there is Matthias Ekström coming through, and there you can just see the Maxime Martin BMW now with superior pace is easily going to get past the Nico Muller car returning from the pit lane. So Maxime Martin ahead of Nico Muller. And behind Nico Muller is the BMW of Marco Wittmann. In then, the race leader, René Rast. Rosberg team go to work on the race-leading Audi of René Rast. Has to be held just for a moment because the Augusto Farfus car was on its way down the pit lane. Very easy to pick up a penalty for an unsafe release, but the team held on to him. So where is Rast going to be in comparison to Matthias Ekström? They're going to be absolutely side by side, but Ekström, again with superior pace, is easily going to be able to go past René Rast. So Matthias Ekström takes up the lead of the race. Maro Engel on the left-hand side of your screen on the graphics indicated as being in the lead, which indeed he is, until he serves this pit stop penalty. He's got a 5-second time penalty for being in the wrong grid position at the start of the race. And he has to serve that 5 seconds before he can even do his pit stop. So Matthias Ekström will effectively be the leader of the race as Maro Engel now goes to his pit box for the HWA team to get the tyre change underway for Maro Engel. So Matthias Ekström leading from René Rast, then the two Audis P1 and P2, Maxime Martin is P3, Nico Müller P4. Then it's Marco Wittmann, Paul de Resta, Jamie Green, Timo Glock, Robert Wickens and Mike Rockenfeller. Here then comes Maro Engel, who will filter out right behind Bruno Spengler. So Spengler moves up to P17 and Maro Engel is P18. Now, a number of drivers had problems in the pit lane. Not least of those was Bruno Spengler with a slow stop, as you can see. The rear wheel caused problems there for Bruno Spengler, and then there were problems for Lucas Auer, who locked up going into his pit box, which caused the car to go sideways, and he very nearly took out one of his mechanics in so doing. And another one with a slow stop too was Jamie Green. It was the front this time, and a problem with the gun there for Jamie Green before he could be released. So there's also problems for Gary Paffett. Not a quick stop for him either. So a number of drivers then with problems in the pit lane. Matthias Ekström has an 8/10 margin over P2, which is René Rast, and P3 is Maxime Martin. So Audi, BMW, the way it looks at the moment. There Matthias Ekström and René Rast make their way through turn number 2. Making his way back into the garage, unfortunately, the young Austrian Lucas Auer, who came to Budapest leading the championship and will go away from the Hungaroring circuit having not banked 1 point. Bitter disappointment for Lucas Auer. Let's hear from him now.
I made at the pit stop, I blocked my inside wheel, so I was sideways in the pit. Cost us a lot of time, and I had from the beginning on some technical problems, and they got worse, so at one point I had to retire.
Now it looks like a discarded carrier bag that's lodged in the grille of the Marco Wittmann car. It's actually part of a track limit barrier. Whatever it is, it will affect the cooling of the Marco Wittmann car and might hamper him. He is currently P5, we'll keep an eye on that. And Jamie Green is ahead of Paul de Resta and has taken up P6. So overtake from Jamie Green as Paul de Resta continues to try and wrestle that place back again. Jamie Green then up to P6, Paul de Resta relegated to P7 here in super slow-mo as how Jamie Green did it. Oh, king of the late breakers there, Jamie Green dives to the inside of Paul de Resta going into turn number 1. This was what it was like from being inside the car of Jamie Green. Manages to turn in and job done. Brilliant overtake from Jamie Green. He is now in P6. And that wasn't going to be enough for Jamie Green, as now he battles with Marco Wittmann. So Wittmann is P5, Jamie Green is P6. Through what is effectively turn 1A, heading towards turn number 2. Jamie Green on the outside. Carries the speed through, and Jamie Green will go past Marco Wittmann. Another brilliant overtake from the British driver Jamie Green. Let's see it from on board. This is where he started it all. Going into turn 1. Now this little kink here is turn 1A, where he remained absolutely committed, but this gives him the outside for turn number 2. But he had the momentum, he had the speed, and he was able to carry it around at turn 2, which of course gives him the inside line for turn number 3. Great job, Jamie Green. I just wonder whether Marco Wittmann's car is failing now because of that plastic stuck in the grille.
We picked up some styropor stuff from the track limits blocks. I have no clue how, because I never run over one of these blocks, but unfortunately my right air duct was blocked, and therefore the temperature raised over the race quite high. We tried to finish with it, but unfortunately car was stopped.
Another man pushing very, very hard is René Rast. He can sniff the potential for his first DTM race win. He has his fellow brand mate Matthias Ekström ahead of him, but he's got the inside line going into turn number 1. René Rast, with superior grip, does go through on Matthias Ekström and puts himself back in the position of being P1. It's Rast from Ekström from Maxime Martin, who is P3. You can just see the exit off of turn 14 was better for Rene Rast. That gave him the momentum going into turn number 1 to take up that inside line and be confident that the car was going to be with him and offer him the grip to go through. Brilliant stuff. This is a big fight for P10 between Paffett and Rockenfeller. Paffett feeling that Mike Rockenfeller pushed him off then, but Gary Paffett will go through to take up the final points paying position to take P10. So Rocky relegated to P11 in the closing stages of this race. In replay here, definitely contact between Mike Rockenfeller and Gary Paffett, and he was definitely pushed off to the runoff area. Good save then from Gary Paffett and a good overtake in the circumstances as well to pick up that P10 position. Rast leading then from Ekstrom, then it's Martin, Muller, Green, De Resta, Glock, Wickens, Paffett and Mike Rockenfeller, the top 10 in the second race here at Budapest.
Yellow corner 12, last lap, yellow corner 12.
So yellow flags in turn 12, Rene Rast is advised of that, and Nico Muller is pushing Maxime Martin now. Fancies that final step on the podium for P3. Nico Muller just taking a look at the inside of Maxime Martin. There's the waved yellow that the engineer was warning Rene Rast of, but Rene Rast has just got a couple of turns to do and he will take his first DTM win here at the Hungaroring circuit. He rounds turn 14 now and heads for the checkered flag. DTM race winner, Rene Rast. And he's pretty pleased about that. Matthias Ekstrom takes P2, Maxime Martin is P3, and Nico Muller takes P4 with Jamie Green and Paul De Resta, and team principal Arno Zenzen is absolutely delighted. Great drive from Rene Rast then. Confirmation of the result, Rast, Ekstrom, Martin, the top 3. Then it was Muller, Green, De Resta, Glock, Wickens, Paffett and Mike Rockenfeller rounding out the top 10. So let's hear, first of all, from the P3 driver, Maxime Martin.
It's just amazing. To be honest, I was not expecting this at all. But we pitted first lap and just tried. And because, you have nothing to lose when you're starting last. And the tires stayed the whole race, which was good for me. I could really push from the beginning. And it was difficult to stay with the Audis, but I did it, and I'm so happy to be on the podium after this difficult weekend, and yesterday really hard, and I think it's a good answer for yesterday.
Up on the podium then, the runner-up Matthias Ekstrom is presented with his trophy, and let's hear from Matthias Ekstrom now.
I mean, I had a bad start, so I lost probably my best chance to win the race there, so bogged a bit too much, and then couldn't catch the guys in front, plus that Nico passed me, so then pitting early and going full attack all the time, but the tires were pretty hot at some stage, and when I saw I came out in front of Rene, I know the game. I mean, I've been done it long enough, and did not have enough pace to really pull away, and then he just waited until my tires started dropping, and when he came with the attack, I knew, for sure I could battle, but I saw there were a couple of guys behind that was catching even more, so I thought if I'm probably a bit fair to him, maybe I can try and hang on and not lose too much time, because at the end I had not so much tires left.
Rene Rast then not only takes away from the Hungaroring his first win in DTM, but also by 1 point the lead in the Drivers' Championship. He is applauded up to the podium, he holds his trophy high, and let's hear from him now. Rene Rast, race winner.
It's unreal. It's so far away for me to be here, winning the race and being a championship leader now. It's I think quite extraordinary for a rookie to come here and be leading championship. So for me, it's quite, like I said, unreal. But I have to thank the boys for working so hard, and we never stopped believing and always worked hard for that.
You were dancing in the car, you were singing in the car, so I'm looking forward to, if you win again, what are you going to do next?
I mean, now we achieved everything we wanted to achieve. First of the season I said podium would be nice, then I said pole position would be nice, then I said the win would be nice. Now we made everything and we are still leading the championship. I mean, it's amazing, so if we can continue like that, I would be happy.
I was just going to say, the next step would then be winning the championship. You didn't say that, but I guess you were thinking that.
Of course, but still, this is even more far away. Still, we think from race to race and try to maximize our race weekends.
right, so congratulations, enjoy the moment, and that's it from us here basically at the Hungaroring. What a fantastic weekend. The sun's coming out and it's just been brilliant, so here are the highlights of the day. Enjoy.